this is like a decoy review panel. We have 3 guys and a review sheet and scales in different, what would you say, categories.
Yep.
And we're rating these decoys on these certain categories in the scale that we've, created for that category.
And that's the thing with, we might all
be different.
Should we go over this sheet before we even start?
Yeah, so
we're kind of looking.
Yeah, Pat, read off kind of what you're seeing.
So basically, we all have the same sheet, and this is obviously it's the first time, so we might add topics. We might take some. Anyways, that might change, but the first topic would be value/price. So what we think based off the price that we sell it for, where we rank that, size, weight, material, carve and detail, paint, and then features. So the max score you can get is going to be 100. Each of those topics that I just listed have a different scale. Some are your max score is 25, your max score is 5. So it's all broken up. Your total, if you got it all, would be 100. So, and these are brand new that just hit the market decoys.
What do we got in front of us?
So this one here is the Avery or GHG. This is the new ProFlex series. This is sold in a dozen pack. The Canada Sleeper Shell dozen pack. Just to kind of show you. So obviously, messing with it, you guys can kind of see.
ProFlex Canada Sleeper Shells. Value and price?
Price is $150.
Yeah, $149.99.
$149.
And that's a dozen pack.
That's for a dozen.
And that's for a dozen. But for $150, I don't know if you can get 12 sleeper shells besides this option right here.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of them at $100 a 6.
Yeah, definitely.
But $150 a 12.
I've seen $150 for 6.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So. And they're flocked heads. So I'm just talking about that for the value reason. Yeah. Like they're not like painted heads or something like that.
Right.
And we actually kind of weighted that scale a lot. Like value is something that you guys come to our website to look for. And that's what we want to weight that in this review. Like the value here, the price, I don't know if you can get 12 sleeper shells for $150.
We
don't cheat.
Yeah, we hiding scores.
I mean,
we just don't look.
Just don't look.
You guys need those folder things they used to give us in elementary school.
Yeah. All right. The next category we got for this ProFlex decoy is size. I don't have another decoy to compare it to, but we'll tell you it's not as big as your normal sleeper shell.
Right.
It's not 50% though, would you say? Or is it almost 50% the size?
Nah, I mean, when I first saw them, I did ask you, I was like, is this a lesser or is this Canada?
If you take overall circumference, I bet it's half the size of some that I've seen. Yeah, maybe not quite half. Maybe
it's getting close.
I don't know.
Let's say 40% smaller than a standard sleeper shell.
Okay.
Your guys' opinion.
That can vary.
Is that great for decoy storage? Is that bad for visibility?
There's pros and cons.
There's pros and cons to that.
Yeah.
With size, we'll kind of cruise to the next one real quick because I don't want to spend an hour on these things.
All right. Yep.
But weight, is correlated to size, but these things are light. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't think I've ever picked up a shell and been like, man, this is way too heavy for me.
Really?
Or been like, this is too light. I've never cared about the weight.
Yep.
But now I've never thought about it until now, like the weight of one.
That's interesting because we talk about shell weights often.
Yeah.
Based on how you hunt, but in a cornfield, in snow, in a field, for the most part, these are going to stay put.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm curious what they do on ice.
Do these have stakes at all?
Nope.
No stakes.
What I'm talking about is on ice on a windy day.
Are they going to slide a little bit?
You're going to be chasing sleeper shells around. Even the heaviest of heaviest will slide around.
Yeah.
On the ice.
Right.
There is some tricks out there that you could do to keep them put, but overall the weight, they might blow around on ice.
A little Creole.
little Creole on the ice action.
There is something to point out with those, given the fact that they have the straps on the back that could be used to keep them in place.
Yeah.
Even though that may not be their main purpose.
I don't know.
Whoa.
It doesn't come with anything to do that, but I didn't even think about that, Hayden. You could stake it because the wind's going to be blowing this way, right? You could stake it, and then you could slide it over the stake, and that loop is around some type of ice screw. I don't know, making stuff up.
It'd be a lot of work.
A lot of work.
I'm not staking down my shells.
So yeah, whatever that weight means to you. But if you're a guy who's not going to use that or can put up with it a little bit, but he has to carry him in, this could be the best thing because of the weight.
Definitely.
Because these don't weigh hardly anything.
So what's the material on this, Chandler?
So we're jumping to material. So everybody's got their weight rating, right?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
All right, material. So I'm assuming this is some type of EVA blend.
It's got to be some form of EVA,
which is a term that we've, I think we're used to on the decoy side of things. I mean, Pat's rolling his up like a burrito
well, I just
right
wanted
now.
to show.
You can't do that with any other shell that I know of.
No shot.
Negative, Ghost Rider. I would say a super elastic EVA. Like I don't know how to say that correctly, but
yeah,
I could jump on that. I know that.
And you could step right on top of it, and it'll flatten out, and it'll pop right back up.
Yeah.
And you could stack all sorts of decoys on top of it and not really worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sleeper shells are usually pretty strong, but just a little bit of flexibility on this might help durability and all that stuff we'll get to later.
The durability,
yeah.
Carve detail.
I just want to ask do you guys think any decoy could get a perfect 10?
No
like
shot.
in a certain category?
Has any Dave Portnoy?
You mean a perfect like 100?
Yeah,
on our scale.
Like
no.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Like, are you guys giving 10s or
Has any
15s?
Dave Portnoy pizza ever been rated?
Oh yeah,
full 10.
Yeah,
I have given a 10. On one of these topics, but this decoy will not hit 100 on my list.
No.
Like,
I know.
Overall, no. Carve and detail.
I think the carve is outstanding.
Visually, I know we were talking visually earlier, just in your office. We were just chit chatting. There's definitely a lot of. You can see the detail in the feathering.
Yes.
Not that.
There's detail in the feathering, and there's a lot of feathering detail. If that makes sense.
Yes.
If you look at the white on the side, there's still feather detail there. Some sleeper shells just don't have that much attention to detail because it's not a very, it's kind of, I don't know. I'm not saying it's like a simple pose, but you might not need to worry about the sides and the tail and the white spots in the back or anything like that. But these guys, it's carved really well. That's all I'm going to say. So it looks good.
I'm with you.
I'm with you too.
Okay. Next one, we didn't, some of these we are, weighing on a scale of 1 to 15, 1 to 10, 1 to 10, 1 to 15. This one's a 1 to 5.
Yeah.
So this one you really got to think about. And this is not necessarily, it's not paint durability because, we don't have the time to go like grind all these up,
right.
every time. But we kind of know what EVA does with paint.
Definitely.
How it absorbs it and how well it holds the paint.
I was picking at it a little bit.
Yeah. So this paint is more judged on the amount of attention to detail they did in the paint job.
Gotcha.
Did they highlight any feather tips? Did they have shading or things like that? That's what we're looking at. The stenciling, the cheek patch, whatever you see. All right, we're on the last one.
Features,
which we are dealing with the sleeper shell as our first one.
Not much features.
But
does come with a tail loop.
For a sleeper shell, it does have a tail loop, which is a feature.
Yeah.
So, and you guys are talking about like, man, I could carry so many of these. Like you're carrying grocery bags and you don't want to take 2 trips.
Yeah.
100%.
Never take 2 trips.
No.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to get my calculator.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
It's 1 through 100. So
I'm going to do that real quick.
Yeah.
Let's just say mine did get a passing grade. I am interested now.
All right, Chandler, you want to go? You can go first.
He's still adding.
I'm going to verify that I didn't screw up my math on the calculator and forget one.
I'll go.
Yeah, Pat, go for it.
Okay. So I gave it an overall total of 81.
Okay.
Do you want me to go on just a couple points real quick?
Yeah, give us some of the high ones. Maybe your highest and your lowest.
My lowest was value price. Scale was 25. I gave it an 18. Now, I'm basing that off of what I've seen out there.
Mm-hmm.
So 150 is a phenomenal price. Like you guys said, dozen packs, I can't think of one that's 150 for a dozen.
Yep.
I can think of some that are a little higher, but a bigger decoy.
Yeah, so you're putting the fact that you are paying 150 for a dozen, but you're giving up 40% of the size.
I'm giving up about 40% of that size.
That's really,
which is why I went low on the
that's
value
deep.
price.
That's real deep.
Now my highest score was a 10, and that was on material.
Okay.
And I just think EVA we know about, they went above and beyond with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like they upgraded their XD series and how pliable it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I could roll it in half and nothing happened. I just don't see it structurally, I guess, unless you want to melt it. it's so pliable.
Yeah.
If you stuck it next to a heater.
Definitely.
So it actually got a perfect grade.
Huh.
Interesting.
Well, you did turn it into a beefy bean burrito from Taco Bell, so I think that's fair.
So 81 was my...
That's a good score.
That's a great score.
That's a good one for the first one.
My mom would be happy about an 81.
What do you have?
So I gave it a 74.3. That was my final.
Oh, he
score.
went in decimals.
I didn't think about it until I had to add it up. I probably shouldn't have
Maybe
done
the
this.
next one you might start rounding.
Yeah.
So your highest and lowest.
So my highest was actually value and price. I gave it a 22.7 out of 25. And
Okay.
I mean, for $150 for 12 that have EVA material and a flocked head, regardless of the size, which I wasn't kind of putting the size into that one, but that's hard to beat.
Yeah.
To get you could get 2 dozen of these shells with flocked heads EVA for $300, and then you can put 2 dozen shells in your spread whenever you need them.
Yeah.
And I think that's killer. That's pretty hard to do. So I gave that one a high score. Obviously, the size I gave a higher score. So the size I gave a 10.4 out of 15, but I like the smaller shells.
Interesting.
I know back in the day, it was all super mag, oversized super mag. Everyone wanted bigger, bigger, bigger. I've never seen a difference. Maybe people like the oversized and they think they work better, but I like the convenience factor of having a little bit smaller set decoy. And I think a lot of the goose decoys all look pretty good that are on the market, and I think all the geese will be fooled if you're in the right spot. Now, where I went down, which could be controversial, is the features. I know there's not a lot, but I am not a huge fan of the loop on the back of shells. I love the loop on full bodies, where I can take a big carabiner and clip some full bodies and get them back to the shell bag or wherever. But all the shells I use have detachable heads, and so
Are these sleeper shells with detachable heads?
Yes, sleeper shells with detachable heads, and you just got to turn them and then have them facing this way. But I'm able to stack 3 dozen of them.
It's interesting
if
how
I
we
want.
all think.
Yeah, it is.
Because I love the tail loop.
Yeah.
And here's why. Yes, I could carry dozens of these just stacked together.
Right.
No problem. I'm thinking if I have a dozen here, 6 over here, maybe I'm running 4, 5, 6 dozen of these.
Right.
We're talking big spread.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm hunting with buddies. They can run over there and just grab them all, bring them back to me, and I've got a guy stacking them up and bagging them. So we can just run and grab them real quick. But I real quick on the feature, I want to see if you say anything. So I'm gonna hold off. 2 points. So I'm gonna let you go first though.
On the tail loops, a lot of people really like tail loops.
I went to a guide service growing up in Oklahoma, and they were doing the hole punches into the full bodies, and they had the loops, and I was like, that's the greatest idea I've ever seen. That is amazing, when you're setting big spreads. But with the way I've run it, always, I like having a duffel bag or some bag where I can put all my shell heads in, and then I have, a boat blind bag or whatever that, seed bag, other bags that I throw all the shells in.
All right, I scored this decoy. I kind of want to change it, but I scored it a 73. So I was, what were you at, 70 something?
I was 74.3.
74.3. I kind of want to give it a couple extra on weight. I felt like I was worried about decoys blowing away. I will say that I think they've cut out the front of the decoy to allow the air to flow through the decoy instead of pushing the decoy. I don't know if you guys can see that.
So that's why they did that, huh?
When we originally looked at it, I'm like, man, it seems a little.
We were talking about that before
there.
this.
I feel like it's on purpose.
That might be why it's
when you have
so
a normal
high
sleeper
up.
shell, this goes all the way to the ice or the ground, and it's thick up front. And it's heavy, and that's what keeps that shell from sliding around or moving around.
Yeah.
But they've actually just trimmed up a little bit. And air, I think, we haven't go put this on a pond yet. The air would go right under this decoy and blow right through, and it's not moving this decoy. I guarantee if it's windy enough.
It could go right under it, and it has plenty of room to blow out.
If it's windy enough, they're probably moving around.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Value, I was with you, Corey. Higher, 23 on mine.
Yeah.
And then, features, I was kind of looking at the the tail loop and the cut up in the front. I didn't talk about it during the time we were reviewing, but 16 on the features, 8 on material, pretty high score. Carbon detail was a 12. Like it's a great decoy. But I think I went a bit too light on weight, thinking it's good for packing and carrying in, but
it's hard to gauge weight on a shell.
And I think weight on floaters.
Oh, this is a duck decoy.
That's a whole different story.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
100%.
The one thing I was going to ask you, and I don't even know, what about putting a hole in the back in case you want it, but then they're sleeping. But isn't there some shells that have...
Usually there's some half shell, three-quarter shells or half
maybe?
shells that have ability to run them as like kind of like full bodies, but they're staked. I don't really know if that's still being done often.
I guess you wouldn't
GHG would be the one making them.
You probably wouldn't do it with
or
shells.
Higdon.
No.
Anyways.
I probably wouldn't.
No.
Yeah.
All right, GHG Pro Flex Canada Goose Sleeper Shell.